Hurts my heart, y'all. Freaking
What's one thing that you can say that'll trigger an entire generation?
hurts my fucking heart, y'all. I know I'm going to school now, and I have a whole bunch of freaking student loans right fucking now. And is my degree gonna be worth the shit? I don't fucking know. That's why I'm doing a whole bunch of other shit too, like this channel and real doing the real estate stuff, and hopefully I can get into. I would love to get into law school and maybe do real estate law, and then try to get into politics some kind of way. So that's my plan, y'all. Check this one out.
The biggest hindrance to moving racial equality forward because we.
What's something that people are not ready to hear?
White women are the biggest hindrance to moving racial equality forward because we have more influence over the raising of our children than anybody else, and white supremacy grows in our homes. And we are the ones teaching our children if only they would behave this way, speak this way, or dress this way, maybe they would have equality. And I will not argue this with anyone.
What's something that people are not ready to hear?
Wow, that's heavy, right? Ooh, that's heavy. So like, and I always be talking about the mom when I be talking about the black community because I focus on the black community, but they're saying it over here. So it's like, if did any of y'all watch that shit where, the Derek Chauvin, what was it? It was the Derek Chauvin. It was at the end of the trial and his mom was talking and shit. If y'all saw that and the stuff she was saying, and what she was saying wasn't what struck me. The comments is what struck me. And it was, and this was mostly white folks, and they were just going in on the mom like she's such a horrible, 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 horrible person, And it's like, damn, Chauvin is the one that's on trial. But I was looking at the damn comments, and I read comments a lot. I watch YouTube a lot, and I scroll on Instagram a lot. And most of the time when I'm on YouTube or Instagram, I'm reading comments that whole time. Anyways, I'm reading the comments, and I notice a theme through the comments. And like I say, the white people are hardcore on the mom, like, oh, she's such a terrible person. And I was like, damn, where is this coming from? And then I thought about it, and I was like, they realized that Chauvin is Chauvin, Derek Chauvin, because of his mom. He clearly was a mama's baby, a mama's boy, and she's proud of who he has become. Some dude that likes to squish people for a living, on his spare time and shit. Some dude like to squish people, She's proud of this guy, and it's so crazy. And that's what I be talking about in the community. Because when I talk about the black community, because I can't talk about that so much because I don't know much about that. I can only talk about that from the outside. But the black community, and then, in the other video, we was talking about how on the news you always see niggas getting robbing and killing all the time, right? So, and then in the black community, the drive-bys, and earlier we was talking about how the women are the ones who tend to fucking rile a lot of that shit up. I'd say 80% of the fucking murders is behind that shit. The number is probably high, but it's a fucking high number, I'm sure. Anyways, so the moms in the black community, how much power do you think they have over them drive-bys and shit that's be going on? How much do they really know? Do they not know? Could they have stopped any of them? Did they try? These are the questions you want to ask, right? You know what I mean? We have, as a community, we have to be hard on ourselves and ask these really tough questions. Not only do we have to ask these tough questions, but we got to confront ourselves and our neighbors about it, right? Right? Because I always be talking about love thy neighbor and protect thy neighbor and be a community, and the community protects the community. But if it's somebody within the community that's allowing their child to go run around and murder others within the community, then that needs to be addressed within the community, right? So we, as a community, we go to the mom and we be like, hey, bro, get your child in order, bro. Or, there has to be some form of consequences to this stuff. So, you within the community, you work out what those are, and everyone agrees to these things once they become a part of the community, so that when this situation comes around, you can be like, hey, hey, your son is not following the guidelines, the community guidelines, like a HOA, even though I hate HOA. But your community is not, your child is not following the community guidelines. So what are you going to do about it? You know, I don't care. That's my child. I love him. He ain't do nothing wrong or whatever. So then your repercussions or consequences or whatever y'all have set up needs to start coming into effect. And then y'all can handle this shit before the police and all of this shit even get involved. Because what I be telling my daughter all the time is that the streets know. And the niggas that know, anybody in the streets that know, the people that ever been in the streets know. The thing is, I don't know how they know all this shit. Like, you know, like let's say you was in jail, right? And the nigga, you know, ask you what you was in jail for, and you be like, nah, I'm in, you know, some tickets or something or whatever. And then they be like, nah, nigga, you in jail for raping little kids or whatever, some shit like that or whatever. You know, this is all hypothetical, people. Don't get offended or whatever. I'm just saying the guy that approached him already knew what he was in jail for. And then it's like out there in the streets, it's like that too. Like the murders that be happening, the cops don't know who killed Ray and T-Bone and Tyrone, but fucking Junebug and Lil Jojo and TT, they know. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is the streets know. And not only do Ray and them know who killed these dudes, the whole community basically know, because them niggas always be talking. You know what I'm saying? They proud of that shit. And they be telling the story. So they tell a story, and another nigga tell a story. And that's how stories get all twisted up too and glamorized every time, because the first nigga, you know, he lied a little bit about the story to make his stuff sound better. And then the next person tell a story. Anyways, that's beside my whole point. Getting all lost. But anyways, y'all, what I'm trying to say is the streets, no, they know what the hell is going on. So the community can come together and be like, bruh, we know Ray shot Tyrone because he was sleeping with Ray's girlfriend and she got met, whatever. Some fucking, it's always some petty drama bullshit. And then like I said, the community can come to be like, let's handle this shit some kind of way, bro. Like, do they need to squabble it out? There's a y'all guys look it up. I think this is in New York, or is it Chicago? It's kind of like a fight club, right? And it's a real fight club. And what happens is the community, people within this club, when they have beef with each other, and it be real beef, like something happened and they really kind of want to fight each other, they have a problem. But instead of fighting it in the street, shooting, whatever the hell, they take it to this club and they box in the boxing ring and whatever. It's, you know, and they get it all out. And a lot of times, if you can watch it, I think there's some stuff on YouTube about it. Usually a lot of times, you know, they get it out of their system and then they're kind of cool with each other afterwards. And that's how I think historically things have been. And one of the problems, especially here in Texas, is that everybody got a gun, right? So like you are all emotional in the moment. Some nigga cut you off in traffic or whatever, and you've been having a bad day all day. Your boss was talking shit to you. Your girl ain't gave you no pussy in forever. You know what I'm saying? You can't find no good gas. Nigga, you having a bad day, a nigga cut you off in traffic. You already had your gun in your lap because some nigga was mean mugging you and or some shit back before you got to this life. And now you just fucking pull your gun out and do some popping or whatever. Like you all in the spur of the fucking moment. Maybe somebody gets hurt or whatever. You know, if you didn't have that gun on your lap, would you have made that decision? And then after you did that, did you feel good about what you did or whatever? Or do you wish that you had done something different? I mean, come on, like you guys got to be real with yourselves. So what I'm saying is all these guns out there, everybody got they're all emotional. It's the Wild Wild West in Texas, man. Do not come, if y'all not from Texas, do not come down here talking shit to nobody. Don't cut nobody off in the road. Nigga was telling me about the story about a chick that went to McDonald's and freaking they didn't put bacon on her burger. She swung around the line back the second time. They told them they didn't put bacon on her burger, and then they gave her another burger and they still didn't put bacon on the damn burger, and the bitch came back popping. And that's what I mean, bro. Like they got guns and they make emotional decisions. So like I say, don't come down here to Texas. It could be an old lady, bro. Don't fucking fuck around. Trust me. Listen to me, bro. Don't fuck around. It could be an old lady, bro. Little kid. Do not judge a book by a cover. Basically, all of us are strapped. Everybody got a gun. Literally all of us. So be careful. Let's do a little bit of history before we.
The law was renewed in 1892 and made
Episode.
permanent in 1902. In 1882, the U.S.
I love this chick's page. This is gonna be a little bit heavy. Damn it. Damn it. Bear with me, y'all. I'm gonna get better at all this shit.
In 1882, the U.S. passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, which suspended Chinese immigration for 10 years. The law was renewed in 1892 and made permanent in 1902. It wasn't repealed until 1943, when China became an ally of the U.S. in World War II. But in the intervening years, although the Chinese immigrant population in the U.S. sharply declined, it didn't stop altogether. At the tail end of the 19th century and into the dawn of the 20th, Chinese immigrants looking to enter the U.S. found themselves barred from coastal cities and states like California and New York. But the U.S. shared a then more lenient border with its southern neighbor, Mexico. In order to enter the country, Chinese migrants disguised themselves as Mexican nationals and entered the U.S. with doctored documents. Professor Allison Hobbs of Stanford University details stories like this and other instances of racial passing in her book, A Chosen Exile. While Hobbs notes that stories of African Americans who passed for white in the 20th century to avoid the terror of Jim Crow laws remain the more commonly known passing narratives in the U.S., people from a variety of backgrounds have chosen to pass in order to change their class, legal, and social standing in society.
Racial passing,
So
that's what we're
passing
talking
is when
about.
people decide to change their background and their social identifiers in order to gain certain benefits. And in U.S. history, the most commonly discussed instances of passing are usually people pretending to be of European descent. And that's because at various points in time, whiteness, or being of Western European descent, particularly Anglo-Saxon, has carried with it certain legal protections and benefits. As Professor Cheryl Harris notes in her article, Whiteness as Property, those legal protections are directly linked to property. This can include things like the ability to earn a living, travel freely between states, purchasing a home, or attending elite schools. Harris details how cases like Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board of Education demonstrate a positive correlation between property, prosperity, and race in U.S. law. In Plessy's 1896 case, Homer Plessy, a New Orleans man of European and African descent, boarded a whites-only railway car with the intention of being detained in order to fight the 1890 Louisiana Separate Car Act, which dictated that citizens of different races must ride in designated cars. Plessy's case was supported by a group of Louisiana citizens who argued that dividing the cars deprived black riders of their legal rights. The Supreme Court eventually declared that the state and the railroad company had the right to maintain segregated cars, ultimately leading to the separate but equal doctrine that became the backbone of Jim Crow and segregation laws in the U.S. These laws ostensibly granted separate facilities for white and black citizens, but they more effectively created generational systematic class divides in the U.S. that aligned with race. It wasn't until the Supreme Court's decision in 1954's Brown versus Board of Education that the separate but equal doctrine was struck down. The plaintiffs' attorneys argued effectively that segregated schools
can't argue with none of this.
Who were being put into facilities that were understaffed, underfunded, and therefore guaranteed worse life outcomes for black children than their white peers. But the pivotal argument in the case came in the form of the Clark-Doll experiment. Doctors Mamie and Kenneth Clark,
if your opinion
and wife
is different from this,
conducted
your opinion is
with black
shit.
children in
These
order
are
to determine
facts.
the lasting psychological impacts of the racial bias created by legal segregation. The Clarks showed groups of black children two sets of dolls, ones that looked white and ones that looked brown. The Clarks asked the children to identify the traits they associated with the dolls, including which one was white and which one was Negro or colored. They also asked the children to identify which dolls were good and which were bad, as well as which dolls looked more like them. Overwhelmingly, the children identified the white dolls as good and the brown dolls as inferior, with some children becoming so overwhelmed and upset when asked to identify themselves with the brown dolls that they would cry or run from the room. Future Supreme Court Justice and one of the attorneys for Brown versus Board of Education, Thurgood Marshall, persuaded other members of the NAACP legal defense team to use the Clark's findings in the court case. The result was a persuasive demonstration of how awarding legal protections and privilege based on race had long-lasting effects on children who were marked outside of the privileged group. Therefore, the arguments for desegregation centered on questions of legal access rather than the desire to subvert or hide Black identity. So the legal undergirdings of how we assign financial or other benefits based on race or gender or ethnic background or country of origin is often the true motivator for people to pass, more so than a desire to change their race or appearance. But the question of passing and legality does not just extend to the benefits of property assigned on the basis of race. It can also encompass related concepts like physical safety. For example, during World War II, it was common for European Jews to either change their last names or hide their Jewish heritage in order to escape concentration camps and extermination at the hands of the Nazi Party. And throughout history, passing for persecuted groups has extended to any place and time where those in the social minority were in physical or legal danger from the state because their group had been designated as undesirable. So passing in those cases was a matter of life and death. And some of you may remember the story of Ellen Craft and her husband William, who in 1848 engineered their own escape from slavery in Georgia by passing. Ellen, dressed as a white male planter, traveled north from Georgia with William, pretending to be her manservant. They were able to check themselves into hotels and board railroads until they safely reached the north.
There's more
I mentioned the
of
story
that
of Ellen and William
happening
in our
than
episode on
you can
cross-dressing,
even
but the
imagine
implications of passing here are also
right now
present,
today.
because Ellen was able to gain access to these elite hotels and methods of transportation, along with William, because she was passing for a white man. But the benefits of being within a legally protected group wasn't just known to those attempting to pass or cross over. They were also acknowledged by members of the protected group. In 1863, abolitionist propaganda circulated in the US displayed pictures of mixed heritage children from New Orleans with very fair skin who were also born into slavery. Because under US law, slavery was a legal condition that was passed down from mother to child, these children, although they could pass for white or had what was considered very small percentages of Black heritage, were still considered legal slaves. Northern abolitionists, fearing that support for the Civil War was waning as rich citizens were often exempted from service and poor white citizens were drafted in higher numbers, used the images of these children to elicit empathy and support for the abolition of legal slavery. These images were printed in Harper's Weekly and on small souvenir photographs called carte de visite. Abolitionists like Henry Ward Beecher stated that in addition to the great evils of slavery, situations like this, where white passing children could also be enslaved, should strike outrage and fear into conscientious white citizens. Because if these children, who looked so close to the appearance of the children of the predominantly white and middle-class abolitionist readers of Harper's Weekly, could be enslaved, then what was stopping free white children and their parents from being drawn into the treacherous clutches of slavery? The appeal was incredibly effective on anxious readers who noted that race, which had long stood as the primary determinant of slavery in the U.S., was not a foregone and concrete conclusion. If people who could pass as white were still enslaved, then the boundaries of legal protections based on race were fluid and fragile, making them more difficult to police. And in the 20th century, this anxiety around the fragility of racial legal boundaries was discussed and immortalized in the literature of the Harlem Renaissance, most famously in Nella Larson's 1929 novel, Passing. But to add one more confusing spoke to this already huge wheel, passing does not just occur when those in a legally disadvantaged group claim membership in the dominant culture. There are also cases where those from the dominant group have crossed into a minority group, often causing public shock and outcry when their deceptions are revealed.
That has happened.
I mean, who can forget the internet outrage caused by Rachel Dolezal? But despite her notoriety, she was far from the first. Hobbes notes the case of musician Mezz Mezzrow, the son of Russian Jewish immigrants who chose to pass as Black at various points in his life to strengthen his jazz career, and later wrote about it in his 1946 autobiography, Really the Blues. Mezzrow hoped to gain social capital and increased ability to book gigs as a jazz musician by passing. And an actor who went by the stage name Iron Eyes Cody rose to fame in the latter half of the 20th century, claiming membership in several Native American tribes. At the height of his career, he was featured as an actor in Western films, starred in the famously publicized Crying Indian ad of 1971, authored a book on what he claimed were types of Native American Sign Language, and even landed himself a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It wasn't until he died in 1999 that he was actually the son of two Sicilian immigrants who was born Espera Oscar de Corti in 1904 in Louisiana.
Native American.
But despite evidence including baptismal records and family accounts, de Corti still claimed to be the child of a Cherokee father and Cree mother until he died. And there's also the story of Linda Taylor, a white woman who passes a variety of races, including
that
Black
just because
throughout her life
saying that shit.
in order to engage in a myriad of illegal schemes such as changing wills, cashing fake checks, theft, and most famously, welfare fraud. A report from Joss Levin at Slate notes how Taylor, passing as a Black woman, came to national attention in 1976 when then presidential candidate Ronald Reagan used her case as an example of reasons to restructure American welfare programs. Taylor was rapidly becoming infamous as the welfare queen when Reagan found her story in an article in Chicago newspapers. Later, it was revealed that she was born a white woman in Tennessee and raised in Arkansas as Martha Miller, and she later began passing for different races and ages in order to aid her in her crimes. So just like whiteness has a social capital that has material gains that aren't only related to improved finances, the kinds of capital that people hope to gain by passing isn't directly tied to the dominant social group, but still bears the potential for legal gains, like subverting the law, and financial gains, like making a career in entertainment. So passing carries with it the potential to alter someone's legal or social status, pointing to the difficulty of pinning down social markers that are often subjective and fluid. But the material results of passing usually benefit the person crossing the divide in tangible ways. So what do you think? Anything to add to this condensed timeline? Be sure to read all the links down in the works cited, since there's a ton more to cover.
Dude, that was dense and heavy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But like I said before, you have to get heavy sometimes. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? People passing, people pretending, people being... What do y'all think about that? How does that make you feel? You know, where's the line then? You know, right? Right? So, like, you know, when you say, like, Black people or whatever group you want to say is lesser and they have, you know, genetically lesser, right? They're inferior or whatever. Definitely different. So then when you got those people right on the edge, there's a lot of interracial kids out there right now. So then, like I said in my other video, like, and how do you define the race of these children, you know? And then, like I say, they're right. They can pass this way or that way. So then you got this preconception that Hispanics are like this or Mexicans are like that or whoever's like that. And then you got this mixed kid who's right on the edge of whatever maybe you are and the person that you think is some other kind of way. And then you meet them or whatever. And then you're like, what the fuck? And then or whatever. So like, even when you look at them, you're like, what the fuck? Like, my whole damn conception is all fucked up. That's because you're being lied to, and it's all just a confusion anyways, you know. The whole categories of race is like a fairly new concept that, you know, they just been using it to take advantage of y'all. So if I wish, if you could understand the world a lot better if you just kind of like don't kind of think of it in a more tribal kind of way, and then you can understand it better. Don't look at it a racial way, look at it tribally. Because you got tribes that are interracial. And there's lots of them. So anyways, like I say, just look at it in a tribal way and you'll understand it better. Don't try to look at all this stuff in a racial way. That's how they sensationalize y'all and turn you into zombie robots. So tired of the zombie robots, bro. So tired. I just wanted to come to an end. That's why I'm making these videos, and because I got so much energy and I've been angry, so I got to find a new outlet. I was playing PlayStation so much my damn fingers was hurting and shit. Oh, bro. I think maybe I'll show one more thing. Because
hello, welcome to Redacted Tonight. This is the show, The Gig Economy. Maybe you drive Uber or Lyft. Hello.
If y'all don't know this channel, then yeah, probably should maybe check it out. I mean, if you're listening to my stuff and you don't know this channel, it's a good opportunity.
Welcome to Redacted Tonight. This is the show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. You've heard it touted as the solution to all of our problems for the past 10 years. In fact, there's a 1 in 3 chance you're part of it right now. I'm talking, of course, of the jizz economy. Gig economy. Gig economy. There's a typo. There's a typo! More than 1/3, 34% of the United States workforce is somehow involved with the gig economy. Maybe you drive Uber or Lyft. Maybe you work with DoorDash or Postmates or Fiverr or Wigglebot. Maybe you've sold yourself on Sugar Daddy or sold your terminally ill dog on short-term pets. You could have done that. Maybe you've moonlighted for Nipple Tipple or sold one of your lungs on Bargain Organs Discount Bin.Al. I may have made up a solid half of those. I'm not really sure. But the point is the same. A third of all Americans earn some or all of their living as a gig worker. And corporate America and the corporate media will tell you that freelance, short-term employment is wonderful. The Wall Street Journal said the gig economy is coming to the rescue. And Forbes magazine said it's helping women learn how to make the gig economy work for them. And NPR said, actually, Trump was not wearing his pants backward at a weekend rally. Sorry, don't know how that one got in there. NPR, why are you always showing up like the dumb kid at the spelling bee? Yeah, I mean, you're on another planet, man. Get it together. Point is, the so-called gig economy is too big to be ignored. It includes 59 million Americans. And according to Gallup, 29% of American workers have gig work as their primary job. And I have to admit, a lot of it is convenient, right? Why go get food when someone can bring it to you? Why wait for a cab when an Uber will arrive in the next 30 seconds and smell marginally better? And there's always new apps appearing and solving every problem you never knew you had. For example, the one that combines DoorDash and Uber so you can get a ride to your friend's house and the driver gives you an order of Indian food on the way. I mean, I love that one. Of course, there are just as many failed app startups like the one that combined TaskRabbit and Farmers Only into something called Farmer Rabbit, where you could use the app to order a farmer who would come over and either fix your lawnmower or blow you. But you didn't get to choose which. It's got mixed reviews. Mixed. Point being, the gig economy is a major factor in our workforce, and there's a reason corporate America love it. They love it. In fact, there are 7 reasons they love. Well, there's probably more than 7.
They don't have to pay you a regular rate. They can fire you at a given take. No rights.
The corporate rulers love the gig economy.
It's perfect. It's like
many of these
hiring
are
an
coming
immigrant.
from the great research of Brian
illegal
Becker and
immigrant.
economist Richard Wolff. Number 1, there are no unions. Unions are the only reason workers achieved any kind of rights.
Like I said earlier, we hardly have any.
In various fields.
There's none.
Without unions, you'd still be losing your job to a 6-year-old because his little hands fit more neatly inside the screw cutting weight.
He's joking. That's 100% true.
On the assembly line, if something got jammed up there. Without a union, no one would have a fucking weekend. And without a fucking weekend, there'd be no fucking, because
that's 100% true.
Fucking weekend.
That's why y'all need to know
The next time
history.
you're having sex, thank a union leader. I mean, not during, wait until after. Actually, don't.
They had to fight for the work week and the hours.
Just
9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Because otherwise, that will be an awkward conversation. Hey, Phil, the other day I thought of you. I was knuckle deep in my, you know what? Never mind. Never mind for now. The second reason corporate rulers love the gig economy, no health care. Back when healthcare didn't cost an arm and a leg, pun intended, you deal with it. That's how I mean.
Most of us have our healthcare through our employer. If you're not a full-time employee, they don't have to cover your insurance.
But nowadays, they hate covering
especially since
so they find ways
Obamacare.
To get out. And what better way to do that?
That's why they hire everybody part-time.
Technically, have employees,
and they don't have to give you no kind of benefits.
And
they keep you under them 29 hours.
If you drive for Uber or Lyft, you are an employee of Uber or Lyft. But they don't call you that, and therefore they get out of giving you benefits. But here's a crazy idea, just spitball here. Fuck that. How about that? They can call you whatever the hell they want. I don't care if they call you Liberace.
They don't give a fuck.
You're still an employee.
So fuck
they can call you their favorite inside-out bonobo monkey snorting chlorine.
Want to work today? Want to make some money?
It wouldn't
I
fucking
know you got to
matter.
pay your bills.
But apparently, a lot of our ruling elite act like it does matter. Here's an easy way to find out if you're an employee of a certain company. Are they exploiting you in one way or another? Then you're an employee. See how easy that was? Reason number 3, no hurdles to firing someone that even remotely annoys them. A lot of jobs that are unionized or have
Good
basic
point.
regulation are somewhat secure. A school usually can't just fire a teacher because they don't like the noises he makes when he breathes. But in the gig economy, the app can just stop talking to you, like a middle school breakup. And despite supposed being a gig employer, Amazon has totally gotten in on this action. Amazon bots have been firing people. Contract drivers say algorithms terminate them by email even when they've done nothing wrong. The 4th reason corporate America loves the gig economy, along the same vein as easy to fire, you're also easy to replace. They don't have to get to know you, work with you, learn anything about you. And they hardly have to train you. To them, each worker is a nameless thing that delivers Thai food or whatever. And if that Thai food shows up 5% slower than the other things that delivered it, they'll just fire the guy. Who cares? He was never really a human to begin with. He was just a cog in an impersonal, inhuman, app-based world. And cogs don't have rights or emotions or wishes or dreams or loved ones. Nah. They love being fired. The cogs, they love it. I tell you what, they love it because it gives them more time to do what they really want, which is pick dingleberries out there. Hey, ho, that's right. And I'll just keep doing this accent right here, keep spraying stuff out my face because I don't care. I kind of want to be this guy. Maybe I am this guy. Number 5, gig workers don't work together. Most gig jobs are done as a lone worker or either driving cars or fixing something at someone's house or catching a little ferret loose in an elder care facility. That was my first job out of college. This means workers aren't talking with each other. They can't plan together or educate each other. There is no community, which means they can't unify or unionize. You'll notice that none of these gig apps try to create any kind of community among workers, even though it would make a lot of sense for our veteran drivers to tell the new folks, here are some tricks of the trade. You know, hey, new guy, when you're driving on Saturday nights, have a bucket with you for when the 25-year-old idiot is about to spray Long Island iced tea chunks across your back seat. You can thank me later. The gig economy wants you all separated and atomized. It's a brand new plan called Divide and Conquer. Oh, wait, that's right. It's as old as cavemen and still working. We're still falling for it.
Very close.
Number 6, it's very easy to control the worker if they are only doing a very particular task and you can monitor their every move. The most famous example probably is Amazon, even though they're slightly different than the gig economy, but concept is the same. They put a tracking wristband on their workers that starts beeping when they're going even a few seconds too slow. Workers are not allowed to pause or chat with others. Tracking every move of workers sucks any remaining humanity out of the humans. And yet the gig economy is sold to people like it's this new level of freedom. Look at how free we are. Gig work gives you the freedom to work when you want. You never have a boss. You still have a boss. It's an algorithm, and it's a dick, and it hates you. Number 7, which sums up all the others. Gig work tilts the balance of power even further to the corporate rulers. Every gain workers have made over the past few hundred years was done with collective action. You have collective action to thank for fighting back against the corporate titans who only care about profit. The gig economy destroys the collective nature of labor. Once we switch away from the employer-employee relationship, none of those hard-fought labor protections count anymore. It turns the worker into a lone beggar, not even able to plead their case to a human boss. Instead, it's just a soulless app, a smiley face emoji on your phone, letting you know that you can go fuck yourself. Won't even tell you why. There's a reason the corporate sociopaths love the gig economy, because it gives them even more control over you. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast. This is Redacted tonight.
Stop playing. Fuck. Might have to edit that part. Oh, I hope y'all learned something. That was a lot. Heavy. But I want y'all to freaking start getting some heavy lifting. The name of this book is The Heart of Everything That Lives. It's a historical kind of like narrative of the United States and the Indians and pretty much a lot of the players, big players who were involved. These pictures that I'm showing y'all are of people who are big players, especially this page right here. And well, these guys were like, I told y'all in another video, they didn't have chiefs of the tribes. These were, you could call them spokesmen for their particular tribes and groups of tribes. And they fought. They were part of the organized tribes, what they call the organized tribes. And they fought a war. And, you know, and if you really, I recommend people to try to understand what happened because it matters a lot. But the truth is they won. People that don't know what I'm talking about. The truth is they won. They won, but they lost. So sometimes when you win, you lose. And that's kind of what happened with Haiti. They won too, but they lost. Look at Haiti right now. Fucking mess. It is so sad, you guys. I'm getting tired. I have to work tomorrow. Red Cloud's territory at the height of his power. And I need y'all to try to understand this stuff. And I don't know if we talked about it in the video for y'all, but I don't know if we did or if we didn't. But okay, that area expands from it's in the North America. Well, where United States is, but it extends into where Canada is now. And, anyways, they show the states and into Canada, you see up there at the top. We was talking about in the video, I don't know if we did or if we didn't, but I think we talked about it off camera about the, if y'all didn't see, I might pull that up. I might make a video about that one next. But we were talking about the schools, right? They found these bodies. They found all these bodies underneath these schools. These schools were schools where they sent the Native Americans to teach them how to be more civilized and to become Christian and to speak English and basically let go of their culture and language and everything, right? And the way they dress and totally everything. Forget about it. Become basically white, right? And these schools were led by the Catholic Church or other type of church factions, mostly of them. And so, like I say, recently in the news, y'all look this up because it's there. They found bodies underneath these churches or schools, where these children were getting, turned, and they always be talking about the horrible conditions there and historically and how messed up it was or whatever. But Now you got real ass evidence, because what happened was someone went to go dig and then they found like a body. Then they kept on digging and they found hundreds of bodies underneath this church, grave sites or whatever, unmarked graves, and these were all children, little girls and little boys. And so then they went digging some more and they found another site with hundreds of bodies. And then they found another one, third church. So then they, not church, you guys, I'm sorry, it was a school, but it was affiliated with the church. So they estimate that it's a whole bunch of these schools with these unmarked graves, and they're all across. These ones that were discovered was in Canada, but these schools went all the way across Canada and the United States, and I think they had them in as far south as where Mexico is now. So that is really, really scary if you think about it. That's really scary and it's very sad. Hold on, y'all, give me a second. I'm gonna see if I can find a video that breaks that down. Weird ass Wendy Williams. Did y'all see that retarded ass shit? That Wendy Williams did, but I think that you have to remember that she makes her money from freaking being sensational and shit.
The remains.
So that shit, what she did, that shit was retarded. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up, because recently there's a clip, it went viral. If you haven't seen it, Wendy Williams, look up Wendy Williams viral clip or awkward Wendy Williams moment or something like that. I'm sure it'll pop up. Okay, this will
Of 751 indigenous people, mostly children, were just discovered at a former residential school in Saskatchewan by Cowessess First Nation. Now, this image of the site was posted here by Courtney Terrio. So they discovered the remains using ground-piercing radar, the same way that previous sites have been discovered, and a little more on that here. Other sites in Saskatchewan and Manitoba have also been confirmed, but Cowessess First Nations discovery represents the largest residential school burial site found so far. Residential schools are run by the Canadian government and churches to forcibly assimilate 150,000 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children. Sweeping sexual and physical abuses were common, and thousands of children died. According to Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, about 4,100 students were killed, but that number is likely to climb. Experts think it's closer to 15,000. Now, in my video on the first discovery, I go into more history on the residential school system in Canada, so I'll link to that above and below the video. But just to get a little more into the numbers here, and clearly these initial estimates are completely off. As Dennis here on Twitter pointed out, over 1,300 unmarked graves have been located at 6 schools. There are hundreds of schools across Canada and the US, hundreds. And to put that into perspective, Jordan Brand here tweets out, the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, originally estimated 4,000 to 6,000 died in Canada's residential school system in total. Searching only 6 schools has uncovered over 1,300 unmarked graves.
Damn.
So the number here, the initial estimate of 4,000 to 6,000, clearly completely off. We're looking at tens of thousands at this point in terms of what is likely to be uncovered. Just absolutely disgusting, and just another example of against survivors of
This 1962 documentary attempted to show the Kamloops residential school in a positive light, but survivors later told of the psychological and physical torment.
In just another example of Canada's genocide against Indigenous peoples, The remains of
This the video he linked to.
215 indigenous children were found on the grounds of a former residential school. Now, I'm going to get some more on this, including a video as well as what the residential school system in Canada actually was. But before I get there, more on this discovery from CBC News here. Preliminary findings from a survey on the grounds at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School have uncovered the remains of 215 children buried at the site, that the Kamloops to Secwepemc First Nation said Thursday. The First Nation said the remains were confirmed last weekend near the city of Kamloops in BC's southern interior. So I'm going to play for you now a quick breakdown of this story from CBC News and then discuss the residential school system.
The Tk'emlúps te Secwepemc First Nation isn't revealing the exact location, only that it was somewhere near this school, which opened in 1893 and was operated as a residential school by the Catholic Church until 1969.
It was devastating to hear this. The remains are many, many years old, decades.
Few details were released today, but Chief Roseanne Casimir says remains of 215 individuals were located.
It's a reality, and it's something that we do not want to have, under the carpet in any shape or form. We want to, heal with our people.
This 1962 documentary attempted to show the Kamloops Residential School in a positive light, but survivors later told of the psychological and physical torment, including punishment such as being hit with a strap for speaking their own language. Indigenous leaders say the finding is more evidence of a painful history.
This discovery is, shaken our Indigenous communities to the very core.
The news prompted a minute's silence in the House of Commons.
The residential school system was a national program. It was a national institution right across Canada. So if this happened at Kamloops, you can be rest assured it happened in a lot of the other residential schools.
Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission found thousands of children at residential schools were unaccounted for over several decades. Today's discovery may be related to those long considered missing. Chief Casimir says ground-penetrating radar was used to locate the site. No access was given to images showing what was found or how it was analyzed.
My mother went to residential school and she survived, barely.
In Vancouver, an impromptu memorial to remember those who suffered at the schools.
It's triggering because, like everybody says, it could have been our life.
The RCMP, BC's Coroner Service, and the federal government have been notified, and talks are underway about what will happen next. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, it's not yet clear how these children died. Of course, there was no record of this taken, and it just goes to how these kids were treated in the residential school system. So let me get to a little more on that.
Hello.
This from CBC News.
Yeah,
there may be reasons why they wouldn't record the deaths properly and that they weren't treated with dignity and respect, because that was the whole purpose of the residential school, to take control of Indian children, to remove their culture, identity, and connection to their family. So the term residential school is incredibly tame for what these places actually were. Essentially jails for Indigenous children to beat the Indian out of them. That is a famous quote that is often used because that is how these schools were operating. They were specifically there to try and remove the identity and culture of the children that were there through abuse, neglect. They were given rotten food, just treated absolutely horribly. And as you see, many of them died, many of them unaccounted for. I'm sure there are many more sites just like the one that was found.
Have y'all heard about
and
this
maybe that is
anywhere else?
To continue, for the government to continue investigating or to begin investigating the grounds around some of these former schools. So a little more on these schools. In the 1880s, in conjunction with other federal assimilation policies, the government began to establish residential schools across Canada. Authorities would frequently take children to schools far from their home communities, part of a strategy to alienate them from their families and familiar surroundings. In 1920, under the Indian Act, it became mandatory for every Indigenous child to attend a residential school and illegal for them to attend any other education.
You hear that shit?
The schools were also breeding grounds for diseases such as tuberculosis and influenza, and the children suffering from the trauma of the absolute loss of everything familiar in their lives had severely impacted immune systems, which left them vulnerable to disease. Fear, anxiety, or depression prompted by a change in environment, lifestyle, or values adversely affect the body's immune system. So there really is, there's a lot. I could spend, hours discussing what.
Basically, just care. Just give a fuck. Does anybody care? Does it anybody out there? Anybody? Hello. Is it only zombie robots out there? Are there any people that's actually alive who have hearts and they can feel, the pain of others? Is there anybody out there who's just not really looking out for their own soul, themselves? There you go. Or they're just them and their family and friends and family, And I'm not judging anyone for the way you think or whatever, but we're a community, whether you like it or not, and you're not an individual because you can't do nothing on this world without you came in this world alone, but you needed somebody to help you. If you wouldn't have had someone there when you came into this world, you wouldn't be here right now. And throughout your life, you still need people. And if you hadn't had people, you probably still wouldn't be here. Till you're old, you're going to need someone there. Period. You're not an individual. We're a community. We're the kind of animals. Like, we're mammals, right? We're pack animals. We're herd animals. We're very social. We work as a group. We help each other. The front protects the back protects the front, middle, sides protect the middle, and that's just what it is. That's our nature. So when y'all want to deny that, it doesn't matter. It's still there. So I'm gonna wrap it, you guys. Like I say, I want you guys to be activists. I want you guys to make a difference in your community. Look for something that you don't like that's going on and try to figure out. What I always say is I try to do what I can, as long as you feel like you did what you can at the time that you could, then that should be good, and if everybody did that, then the whole world would change overnight. So do what you can, do what you can to make a difference in your community. Try to bring people together, try to educate them, try to start social programs. If I ever start making some money, I was telling my daughter the other day, the first thing I want to do is I want to start building like community centers, and it's for teenagers and for adults. They'll probably be different, one for adults and one for teenagers. We probably won't mix them up, but what I think the community needs the most is like, they need somewhere to go. So a safe place to go, comfortable place to go and do, positive types of activities that doesn't cost, with no cost or low to no cost, Think about it, the problem with these children, they out here running the streets, they're bored, they go into the club, they go into these parties, the party's getting shot up, the niggas is on some gang shit. It's just a whole bunch of chaos, bro. But I think it, throughout the years, and I think that when I was a child, I swear it was more community centers. Now I don't know where are they? Where do they go for that kind of stuff? So like, I think that we need more community centers, places that don't have no taboo attached to them, where it's totally cool to go there. It's okay, and they have all kind of activities that people will enjoy to do. That are fairly positive. They can do whatever they want to do. They could just come in and plug up their phone and enjoy the AC and scroll on their Instagram. That's perfectly fine. They might not feel comfortable at home, and they might not have a comfortable place to go and do that. And no one's going to be asking them what they want to do or pressuring them to do anything. They can come in and shoot pool or play basketball or play the game or write or Jenga or tic-tac-toe, whatever things we have available, computers, surf the internet, whatever, like library type shit, have books, places, stuff that they can read, and all of this stuff needs to be free. you know, because I think they're bored. I think a lot of them are bored. Even though they got all this fucking shit to do, it's crazy. But they need a physical, real place to go because everybody is lost online and we're not going to physical places. We need a physical place to get our physical body and move our physical body to a physical place that has a good feeling there, has a good spirit and good energy there, where we can thrive, some place that we feel protected, where people can attack us, because we're going to make sure that we have no bullying and we have a totally comfortable atmosphere, you know, and so where people can come and be themselves and do whatever the hell they want to do. It'll be kind of like a school, because I was telling my daughter too, you know, if I was to make a school, I think schools should not have structure as far as telling the kids what they to do. Every day they come to school and you just have everything available to them, like literally as many different types of freaking stimuli for them available every day. And maybe you do some lecture, you know, about whatever, but the lectures and stuff are going to focus on manners, because that's what another thing that's missing out of education is teaching people to be courteous to each other. That's the reason why they're cutting each other off in traffic and shit. You know what I'm saying? And shooting each other afterwards and shit. Like, it's so freaking retarded. You know, they need to be taught to you know, care about each other, care about the community, not just care about making money and making profit, because that's what they're taught. So, like I say, the lectures will just be that. We're not going to do no real like teaching, but we're going to have everything available, books, the computer, the internet, and whatever they want interested in, you're going to nurture that and push them into that. Not push them, but just like, hey, I saw you making writing a program on the computer yesterday, you know, and then last week I saw you do it. So, you know, maybe you should explore that more, and, you know, and that's it, whatever. And then be like, maybe I should. And then maybe let them go whichever direction they'll go. All the information, if you have everything available for these children, they're going to all develop their own distinctive thing. And then they're going to like that thing, and they're going to learn a lot about it. And then they're going to become like a professional of that thing. And that's how the society will be built. And that's what we need. And all of these people will work together to make all kinds of new shit that we can't even think of, because we're not letting these children really grow. We're keeping them in the box and teaching them the regular ass math, algebra, and scaring them and shit. And like, you know, they don't even never need to use that shit. So like now they feel dumb and shit. And then the ones that you make them spell, I hate that y'all think that just because people spell well, they're intelligent. How is spelling related to intelligence at all? Like, I don't get that. Where do y'all get that from? Like, you memorize how a word is spelled. People who speak multiple languages are gonna misspell words all the time, because the word is spelled different in the different languages. Get the fuck out of here with your ignorant ass, bro, with that shit. So what I'm saying is, the children, let them just be. Just let them be. And whatever they freaking get into, boom, they're gonna grow. Just make sure that you have all the resources that they could possibly need. If they're missing something, if they be like, hey, I want to do such and such and such, as long as it's positive, as long as it's not like something that's detrimental, give it to them and let them freaking play with it, no matter what, you know. And then they just go, and then because they're gonna get bored with whatever it is, and they're gonna move on to the things that are interesting to them. And you know, that's what I really want to do. I want to be a teacher. I want to open a school. When I was a little kid, I always thought I was going to be a professor, you know. Well, I guess that's kind of why I'm doing these videos, huh? I feel like I'm teaching. Hopefully you learn something. So what to learn today is just be nice, man. Love that neighbor, you know, have a community, care about each other. I love y'all. Peace.